Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Bigfoot Cafe interview with Dobbs Jr. JR does a really nice job of taking us through details around his first investigation, his Bigfoot sighting. He's had a couple experiences with Bigfoot, personal experiences, to his trip to LA regarding the baby Bigfoot hoax, and then finally his latest video regarding the curator of the museum where the Iceman is. So without any further delay, let's get this thing started. All right, JR. Thanks very much for making time for the interview, man. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
So you want to start probably by telling us a little bit about yourself, and then maybe how you got into Bigfoot. Or maybe, what was it that kind of sparked your interest in Bigfoot?
Growing up, I was always aware, obviously, of the legend of Bigfoot, and
from the movies.
Well, movies, the Legend of Boggy Creek, for example.
Yeah, that one scared the hell out of me, brother. That was scary for me.
It's a fun movie to watch too, but it's not one of those movies that you can take totally seriously. For me, especially, it was one of those movies that you watch with friends with beer, type of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
But it was close to home. That is the area that I grew up in. For the most of my childhood.
So was that East Texas along the Arkansas border?
Yeah, the Arkansas-Louisiana border, in that area, and lots of family out there, lots of friends, spent a lot of time out there, and heard the stories, adult, when I was a kid and everything. And some people would say that it wasn't real, some people would say they'd seen it and things like this. And just growing up around that and everything, it was always in the back of my mind. And also I was obsessed with survival and things like that. As a kid, anything I could get my hands on or find on the internet that had to do with anything about surviving in the woods, I was all over it, and so I became a pretty avid camper and fisherman, and I love it still to this day, both of those things.
Awesome.
And I've always been interested in Bigfoot, maybe not necessarily the Bigfoot community per se, but definitely just always loved to be out in the woods.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Awesome. Well, have you ever had a Bigfoot experience?
Yes, I have. And that's really what has sparked me to go into this. It's not necessarily something that is beneficial for me to go into, but I feel compelled. And what happened was I was pretty intimidated by the Bigfoot community. Just observing it online and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't really want to just jump in, and I was kind of felt kind of afraid to just jump in. But recently, some things have occurred that I felt like I needed to. And one of those things that happened was the Rick Bauer situation. And
yeah, was that mostly because it was kind of right in your backyard? I mean, you live in Austin, right?
That's right.
The Austin area, and then San Antonio is less than 100 miles from there, or What's the distance?
It's about that location in particular. I would say San Antonio is about 45 minutes away from my house.
All right, so it was practically in your backyard there.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's an area that I've been interested in for a while. So, I mean, I've read stories about that area. I've heard stories about that area. Maybe not that area specifically behind the Home Depot, but in that area, you know, outside of San Antonio, on the outskirts, you know, west of there. And
yeah, you know, I was taking a look on Google Earth at that area, and it just seems like there's a lot of small pockets of foresty areas or very green areas there, all around San Antonio. It seems like
there is. Basically, if you head west from San Antonio, you just run into no man's land really quickly. And that area in particular has been, you know, 10 years ago that Home Depot wasn't there. There was very little housing. It was mostly just being developed out there, and you know, San Antonio's just kind of crawling west, kind of, you know, and that's just like the cusp of it right there.
Yeah, interesting. So that Rick Dyer shooting prompted you to go out there and investigate. I mean, you already had some background on the area, and
exactly.
Yeah, and I thought you were pretty good with the camera and kind of knew your way around an interview. Is that something you've had past experience with?
Yes, it is. Definitely. Yeah, I'm very interested in filmmaking.
Okay. Awesome. So then tell us a little bit about how you know, your first day of your investigation there, beginning with the video of the man who cried Bigfoot. How that went for you. Was that just a day investigation, or did you stay overnight? How long were you there?
Okay. That was just a spur of the moment type of thing. It was an area that, like I said, that I wanted to investigate. Not, like I said, not necessarily that particular area. And I actually, me and my wife actually headed out there to go to an area called Government State Canyon Natural Area, and just on a whim, we happened to be able to locate that Home Depot and that location and everything, and so we figured we would go out there and just we didn't even know if we would, you know, we were all totally prepared to back out at any moment, basically, if anything went wrong. But we pulled up there, and everything looked good. I mean, it looked, you know, there was a little wooded area back there and everything. So we grabbed the cameras, and we headed back there. And it was a little unnerving. We really didn't know our way around. We didn't know what to expect going back there. And so it was just kind of a spontaneous thing. That we just kind of went with, and the you know, the more we were out there and the things we observed, we decided, you know, maybe we should throw this up on the internet and see what happened.
So that wasn't something you had planned on when you went out there? You hadn't planned on making that video and posting it on YouTube? It was something you decided afterwards?
Well, the thing was, I've been collecting footage before, you know, and I was a little hesitant to post anything on YouTube. So yes, it wasn't necessarily that if we weren't going to, but the thing is, I bring a camera, you know, especially whenever I'm going on adventures or whatever. Now that I have one, I make it a point to bring it, and so this was just a thing where we were just kind of exploring. And we were definitely going to get footage, and we were definitely going to. We didn't know, you know, we could have went back there and not run into anyone, you know.
Yeah.
But we were just going to bring the cameras along anyway. And if we captured something, or if we got an interview, then you know, that was going up, type of thing.
Yeah. So, from your first video or two on the man who cried Bigfoot, you know, you seem to be pretty objective. You know, you weren't really sort of speculating yourself one way or another about, or it seemed this way to me anyway, about what you were finding. Is that kind of, or at what point did it start to sort of lean one way or the other to you, that, you know, that what you were investigating out there was true, or maybe it wasn't?
It was the very first visit.
Really?
That we went out there. There were some things about that area that we were seeing, that just it seemed like there was something going on out there that could be Bigfoot related, and so after that, it sparked me. It inspired me to go back out there, even though the first time we went out there, Jeff was pretty guarded and didn't really give us much, and basically told us, you know, that there wasn't no Bigfoot out there and that we were wasting our time or whatever. But it was just there was just something about that area and some of the things that we ran into that for our own peace of mind, you know, we wanted to go back. And even after we did go back, I mean, we went there a lot of times, and there are times that, you know, we didn't publish. There's times we went out there where we didn't even film anything and get any interviews or anything like that. And then there are some things that we did film that we didn't publish, but we just kept going back, just because we just had a feeling, you know.
Yeah. So it seemed pretty legitimate to you, huh? Or possible anyway. It seemed like there's definitely something going on out there.
Yeah, there is something going on out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just looking at the area and stuff, it doesn't look that squatchy, you know. It looks just like I don't know, but I guess it is, you know. There have been a lot of reports, right? You interviewed a couple that had reported having heard something. Actually, they saw something, right, that they reported to the police?
Yes, they've called the police. They told us that they've had multiple sightings, and someone from that family even got out there and like started trying to film one time, and it's not only that. There have been a lot of sightings in that area. Maybe not as many recently, because that area's pretty much developed at this point, and it's growing fast.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I mean, you know, even up to like 6 or 7 years ago, there was a lot of activity in that area, and a lot of people were getting sightings.
That's amazing. It's just so close, you know, to a metro area. You would. Yeah,
it is, but that's one thing that I may have not pointed out in my videos clearly enough, is that it's kind of sprawled out. You know, it's not like condensed San Antonio City. You know how it's just all compact and everything. And the way they, you know, it's basically like this series of strip malls, housing developments, and apartments. And as you go around on that 1604, it's like cookie cutter. It's like they built this thing up so fast that see the same restaurants and the same stores and things like that all in the same strip mall. Like it's all repeated. You know, H-E-B, Walgreens, Home Depot. Go down 5 miles, H-E-B, Walgreens, Home Depot. It just keeps repeating. It's like a fractal type of situation where they just erected all of this stuff really quickly. And it's not like there's like skyscrapers all around and things like that. This is like really is on the outskirts.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you too about the couple that you interviewed in part 5. I think she was wearing a shiner one time, and then another time he was wearing one. What's going on with that?
Oh man, I don't know. That was another time. I mean, that we walked up there not knowing what to expect. We'd gone there several times, and there was nobody around. There were tents. There was a camp set up, and we would say, "Hello, anybody home?" Things like that, and there was nobody there. But then on this particular day, whenever we went, Jay and Elizabeth happened to be there, and we kind of stirred them up, I guess, by wandering around there, and they came out of the tent, and we started talking to them, and that's the first thing I asked him was, what's up with your eye, man? did somebody pop you, And he told me that he had gotten bitten by spiders, that they were spider bites.
Wow.
Now, I don't know, whether that's true or not, I don't know. And, they...
swollen shut.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, tell us more then, JR. As you started doing more and more of these, where did you start to... Because in the beginning it seemed as though you found favor with Rick Dyer. I heard him mention your name a couple times, and he thought that you were a good investigator and this and that. And then at some point you fell out of favor with him, but I'm not really clear where or why that happened. Any idea?
Yeah, I think that the reason why I fell in favor with him in the first place was because I was the only one who was investigating that area, and then I was finding evidence that there were possibly Bigfoot there. At least I was finding enough evidence, proof to me that there could possibly be some activity there. And I think that may be why he latched on.
Yeah.
And then eventually Jeff opened up. And that's the thing. It took a while for me to build up enough trust with Jeff in order to really have him open up to me and really talk about this subject, because he didn't know me. I mean, I'm just some guy who shows up out in the woods at his campsite with a camera, and so obviously he's going to be a bit guarded. And once he did open up, he kind of spilled the beans about what they were up to out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and didn't he say at some point also that he was asked to do certain things, or to stay away from a certain area or things like that during shooting? Yeah,
what he said was that they had warned him, that they were going to be filming in this area and everything, and they were going to be shooting a gun. And so what they needed him to do was kind of stay on the perimeter and make sure that no one wandered in there.
Oh, I see.
Area.
Was this at night or during the day?
That was at night.
Wow, that's interesting. So that's probably where you fell out of favor with Dyer then, right?
Apparently so.
Yeah, so
and,
what's...
that's the thing is, the thing is, like, I'm just investigating this, you know, I'm just reporting on it, and, you know, I'm seeing things that are telling me that there is possibly some activity occurring here, and that may not be politically in the Bigfoot world the best way to go. But that thing is, like, I don't want to be. I'm trying to approach this objectively, totally objectively, without, you know, no matter what. I just want to, you know, I just want to find out what's really going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how I saw your approach as well. I mean, I did a feature on your stuff kind of early on, and that was one of the things I noticed is you just kind of let the investigation lead you. I've seen others who do interviews like that who ask very leading questions, or they kind of bait the answers, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought yours was pretty objective. But I got to admit something to you. It did seem a little odd that this guy Jeff kind of turned, you know what I mean? Because he seemed very guarded at first, like you were saying, and then it seemed like once he was comfortable with you, he just came out with all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so what did you think about that? Did you felt, you know, because nobody was there with him except you, so did you feel personally that he was being straight up honest with you, or do you think that he was seeing an opportunity maybe to I don't know, to just maybe say some things, or you know what I'm saying, that maybe he wasn't completely straight up? Did you feel that he was, you know, 100% honest with you?
I feel like he was, just because the interview was totally cold.
Yeah.
And also, I'd been trying to talk to him again. Like, I talked to him those 2 times before, and I really didn't feel like he was. I could tell that he was not telling me everything, and in fact, I thought that he may have been lying even during those interviews, just because of the way he was acting and things like that. Or not lying, but he was definitely guarding something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just assumed that it may have been. I mean, you know, that's his camp. That's where he lives. You don't really want outsiders, you know, rolling up in there, you know, with cameras and stuff, you know, every weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of chalked it up to that, and then, you know, I went back there those few times, and he was gone. And then whenever I talked to Jay and Elizabeth, they informed me that he'd kind of moved on from that area and wasn't really staying there much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And but we had exchanged phone numbers, and I had texted him several times, and he had never gotten back to me.
He has never gotten back to you?
Well, he hadn't up until a certain point. Eventually, I texted him, and I gave him a link to the, you know, to the because by that time the trailer for shooting Bigfoot had came out, and there's a little snippet of him actually in the trailer, and there's a scene where it shows this dog in the trailer, and which we had talked about in a previous interview, and I explained all that to him. You know, you should definitely look at this. I think this is you, and I think this is your dog. And so that's when I finally got a response from him. And so I was like, well, look, we could be out there tomorrow to do an interview. It's like, well, you know, I've got this and that going on, so how about, you know, Thursday, which was like a couple of days later. And it was also the day after the movie premiere. And so that's whenever we got that interview with him, where he kind of opened up.
So was that the last interview you had with him, part 12?
No, that was part 9, actually.
Oh, okay. So there were still a couple interviews after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was. Yeah, he was kind of in and out, and then I eventually went there and camped out there for a week. And
for a week? That was your part 11, Creature Killed Me?
Yes.
I didn't know you were out there that long. I had assumed you were out there maybe overnight or a couple days. You were out there a whole week, huh?
Yes. I wanted to stay out there longer, but I had, I was exploring a lot of that area during the day, and tweaked my knee pretty bad. So I had to bail. But I plan on going back out there and spending a longer amount of time out there, and also in areas west of there as well.
Yeah, are there still reports coming out of there?
There have not been lately. There haven't been any reports. And Jane and Elizabeth, who are still living there, they haven't. I've been in contact with them, and they've said that there's been zero activity out there.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about too is in the first, say, 10 to 20 seconds of your part 11 where you're out there, and this is at night, you're filming in night vision. You hear this noise as you're talking, and then you stop and you looked over and you said that was a weird noise. Man, what was that? That sounded like a growl to me.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I really don't. And that I'd heard some things like, and the thing is like that was from very far away. That
really
was from extremely far away, and it kind of had an echo effect right in that area right there, and I don't know what it was.
Yeah, that was really it sounded like a growl. And of course you couldn't tell from listening to it how close it was or how far away it was, but it sounded, or it appeared anyway in the video, that it might have been close.
The thing that tripped me out about that noise was that it was so guttural, and it resonated throughout the entire wooded area.
Yeah.
It was like I could feel it in my bones. It was a very deep, resonating sound.
Yeah. Was that the only time you heard that, or what kind of evidence did you find during the week you were there?
There was that, and there was a couple of other noises that were similar to that that I'd heard a few times, and there was one point during the night when I was hearing something in the brush, just beyond my tent, and I jumped out frantically with the camera and trying to film and stuff like that, and I never could get anything, but I could definitely tell. I don't know what it was, but I was definitely hearing something walking around out there, snapping twigs and scuffling around in the brush and stuff like that. But it was never anything that I could that for sure told me, okay, there's a Sasquatch here. It was that type of thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Anything as far as footprints or scat or
There, not really. I mean, the thing about that area is that it's rock. Basically, the ground is like a lot of rock, you know, and there are creek beds where I did see some things that look like footprints, that could have been footprints, you know, but it's just, with all the leaves and everything like that, it's really difficult to tell.
Yeah. Interesting. So, as far as any evidence gathered, video or physical or anything like that, it wasn't very fruitful for you, it sounds like?
It was not. It was not fruitful at all in that respect.
Hey, it happens, you know, that's how that goes a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So then after let's see, you interviewed Jeff again, part 12, and that was the last interview you had with Jeff, right?
Right.
Right. Is that the video where he was showing you some 30-6 casings that he had found?
That was an interview a couple of episodes before. That was actually that part 9 interview.
Oh, okay.
It was the first interview that I got with Jeff after I hadn't been able to contact him for so long.
Yeah, I still can't figure out where you got labeled a hater. I still can't. I don't have that one figured out yet.
I'm right there with you. I don't understand that at all. I don't hate anybody.
So then after that, let's see, after part 12 was the last one that you did with Jeff, and then you moved on into one of your more recent ones. This one I think you shot like a couple months ago near the Sabine River. That's Bigfoot Chased My Ass.
Right.
Yeah. And these, I take it, like, first thing I noticed was, like, it was all just voice on tape, so they didn't want to be filmed, the couple you were interviewing?
Right.
No cameras, please, huh?
Yeah, it was, yeah, these are kind of guarded people, you know, and they were kind of casual, you know, they were relaxing. And they welcomed me into their home as a guest, type of thing. So, you know, I'm just trying to be as respectful as possible, and that's the way they wanted to do it.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing story. I thought. So they're in the business of renting ATVs and doing ATV tours out there, right?
Yes. Well, they were at the time. That has since shut down.
All right. And how long ago was their encounter? Was it years ago? Was it fairly recent?
It was in September. She said September, October of 2003.
Yeah, so it's been about 10 years ago or so. And since then, she sounded very shook up. Like, you know, kind of a life-changing experience for her. It sounded like she didn't want to go back into that area anymore.
Definitely.
Especially not at night.
Definitely. It changed. Yeah, she is this type of woman who's not afraid of anything, and a very strong woman, and grew up in the woods, and not so much now because there's some distance between the incident and, you know, time is put some distance between it, but for a while there she was actually afraid to go outside at night. I mean, she was pretty, it affected her quite a bit.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I imagine that would be traumatized as well. Well, that was an interesting story. And you had 2 parts to that. How much time did you spend out there?
Well, I mean, that's an area that I grew up in. And getting that interview, I would say I was probably over there for like 4 hours, maybe, just talking to them and recording. I didn't get 4 hours of footage, but probably over 2 hours for sure. But yeah, that's just an area that I grew up in, and so I've spent a lot of time in that area, and I plan on spending a lot more time in that particular area where she's talking about, and actually in part 2, there is footage from that area in part 2. Just while the audio is playing, I actually went to the location and just did some recon and got some footage, not anything intense, exploration or anything. But that is a target for me in the future.
All right, so you were filming in and around that area. Did you find anything? Did you experience anything while you were there?
No, I didn't experience anything while I was there.
Yeah. Any nests or any nesting areas, anything like that?
Well, I mean, I see stuff like that. Whenever I go to locations, I'll see trees that have been pushed down and in a way to where it could be used as a shelter and things like that. But like, as far as, I mean, I don't, that's not something I'm really focused on, as far as like that kind of stuff. But I have seen things like that, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not going to let you get away with not telling us more about your Bigfoot experience. Earlier in the interview, you said something about you can't officially tell us about it, or something to that effect.
No, I mean, I can tell you about it. I've had many experiences, and I've had one sighting.
Yeah, tell us about the sighting.
The sighting happened in 2011, and it was during a camping trip, a fishing, where we went fishing and camping, and we had just got to our camping location and started setting up as the sun started going down, and as we were setting up, I was hearing things crashing around. Not crashing, but like some sounded like somebody was scuffling around out there in the brush. I didn't think anything about it.
And this is where you grew up in East Texas?
This is in East Texas. This is going to be around the Crockett area, Texas area, in that area. And so by the time we got set up and everything and got settled in, nightfall hit, and sitting there reading in my tent with a light, and the sound of the brush cracking and stuff, it just keeps getting worse and worse until it's like, seems like it's all around, like surrounding us. And my uncle comes up and is like, hey, you get out here. There's something going on. There's somebody out here or something. And he's already got a flashlight out. And so I get out with my flashlight, and we start shining around. And we're just getting silhouettes and eye shines and weird things and weird noises, weird sounds, like almost like moan kind of grunt sounds and things like that, but real subtle and things like that. And then just like we start getting really panicky. We start to freak out, and we start like looking for an exit. Pretty much, we're like, this is strange. We didn't know what the hell was going on, and it seemed like there was like a military thing like coming up on us or something. It seemed like they were everywhere. That may not have been the case. We may have just gotten really paranoid. I don't know.
What do you mean by a military thing?
It just seemed like we were surrounded, and
you felt like there was more, whatever was out there. There was more than one of them. Is that kind of what you're?
Definitely, there was definitely more than one, and just really creepy. We would get eye shines. We'd shine our flashlights. We would get some kind of silhouette just for a second that would move out of the way of the flashlight, and we got really scared, and we packed up. We didn't even pack up. We just left. We got the hell out of there, wow. And we left all of our gear, and we were pretty shaken up. And,
yeah, I can imagine. So how long did that go on before you guys decided to cut out? Just a few minutes?
I would say, like, from the very first time I heard it, which was right when sunset was beginning, until we finally was able to get out of there, I would say it was probably about a 2-hour period.
Wow.
And as soon as we started getting the eye shines and things like that, that's whenever we were looking for an exit. We were looking to get out of there at that point.
Wow. When did you go back for your gear?
We went back probably about 3 days later during the day, and had a lot of trouble finding the spot, but eventually we did find it, and we explored. We looked around a little bit. It was very unnerving to be in that area again, and so, you know, dusk started settling in. So, and we didn't want to, at that time, we didn't want to be around there. So we got our gear and got out of there.
Well, have you been back since?
I have. I've been back 3 times since then, and nothing.
Did you camp, or you went back during the day, or?
During the day.
Yeah.
All 3 times were during the day.
I dare you to camp there again.
It's in the works. That's another target area, and it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of me finding the time to get back out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you say this was in 2011?
Yes.
Well, just a couple of years ago, man. So it's pretty fresh in your mind, huh?
Definitely.
Wow. All right, moving on then. Let's talk a little bit about your invitation from Rick Dyer to go see the, quote, baby Squatch or baby Bigfoot. You found out about this from what, his video? The video that he posted on YouTube, kind of inviting you and Steve Coles? And there was a third person, right, that he also invited?
Yes, Randy Filipovic.
Right. And that's when you first heard about it?
Yes. Yeah, that night. That's when, and it was, I got a real big kick out of it.
Yeah, and so after you saw his video, then you posted your own video, right? Hank Jr. response to Rick Dyer's bogus offer?
Right.
Yeah, and what cracked me up about your video is you put on this Texas kind of drawl and you point.
Yes.
So then tell us what happened after that. It sounded like you had a little trouble getting in touch with him, and then you guys finally got hooked up, right?
Yeah. I had his. He had given me his number before, and I'd never called him.
Well, tell us, tell the listeners, and how did you get his number, or why did he give you his number, or when did that happen?
That happened probably about 3 months ago, in an email that he had sent me, inviting me to be on his show, his blog talk thing, and he had given me his number there, or maybe that was just the blog talk number. That's probably what I was calling during that time.
So did you respond? Did you accept the invitation?
yeah, I did, and I went on his show and talked with him about my investigation.
So you were still in good favor at that point?
Yeah, apparently I was.
Okay. You didn't ask any pressing questions or any embarrassing questions of him, anything like that would have kind of put you in the hater category?
No, I did not want to. I didn't want to go that route.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep it as fair as possible.
Sure. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out where you became such a hateful and spiteful person, JR.
Well, I mean, I am a smart ass. I mean, I don't know. But, you know, the thing was, I saw the baby Bigfoot video that he had done. And I thought it was hilarious. And he had apparently, like before that, I think it was at part 9, whenever that Jeff interview is what pissed him off. And then after that, like, I didn't know this, but some people had told me that he was calling me out on his blog talk thing and stuff like that. I'd stopped keeping up with all that stuff.
Yeah, I heard it. I was listening when he did that.
Yeah, and so I just kind of let that go by, you know, and then he starts talking about all this stuff in San Antonio about finding shelters full of baby toys and...
Oh, yeah, that's where it got a little strange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
in fact, I remember exchanging some messages with you or something after Rick Dyer called you out on one of his blog talk shows or whatever, and you responded with, "Hey, I moved on. I don't, kind of, so be it. I'm doing other things right now," and you didn't seem concerned. I remember I had that exchange with you. Right.
Yeah, we talked about it, and so. That kind of, like, I thought that was just ridiculous, and so I kind of voiced my opinion in some comments on his channel. And talking about, I wonder if that baby rode shotgun on the way back to Vegas. And,
oh, I remember those comments now, yeah.
Yeah, just making, smart-ass comments like that, and I guess that got to him, and so he figured he would do the call-out thing of the 3 people or whatever, and I thought all that was hilarious, so I just kind of threw some gas on it, and just kept going. Yeah, and so I remember you were, I mean, you and I exchanged a couple of messages, and I got the impression from you that you thought it was not for real, that it was some kind of, just a joke. Exactly.
And I know we lost touch a little bit after that, and then the next thing I heard from him is that you were definitely going to be driving up there. So what happened there during that time? Did you have to make plans away from work? He went on the air and said that you were concerned about your own safety, things like that, and almost made it sound like you were not coming. And then in the next video he posted, he said you were coming. So what all was transpiring during that time?
The thing that I was thinking at this time was that if I don't see this through, if I don't follow this through, as ridiculous as it is, I'm going to have to sit here and listen to baby Bigfoot stories for the next 6 to 8 months or however long, he can string this story. And I knew it was bullshit. I knew it was a way to kind of basically call him out and pin him down on what he's been doing all this time. And so I just kept, I just committed to it, and I just kept going with it, and just to see how far the craziness went.
Yeah.
I was curious, and you know, I don't really have anything. I didn't have anything going on at the time. You know, I had a lot of free time, and I'm a spontaneous person. So, as far as work and everything like that, I was pretty freed up at that point, and was planning to take some time off anyway. And I've never been to LA, and so it seemed like the perfect thing. And that's the thing, is that any kind of concern I had for my safety stemmed from the fact that he didn't have what he said he had, so why is he wanting to meet me, you know? And so then automatically I just assumed that, you know, it was going to be a stand-up type of thing.
So that crossed your mind that, you know, that you'd get out there and there'd be nothing?
That was what I was planning on.
Okay.
The worst case scenario for me would be that he did show up, because then I would have had to take care of some stuff at that point, because you don't want to back a rat into a corner, man.
Oh, that's funny. And you, as you started your road trip from Austin to LA, you made a couple stops and posted some videos. One stop was in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned there also that you thought it was bullshit. And then you posted another video going through Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the last we heard from you until Rick put on the sort of the phony podcast, you know, pretending that he was up by the Hollywood sign, and then that's where he kind of...
Yeah, at that point, before we got to Arizona, we realized what was going on.
Who were you traveling with? Was it just you and your wife?
It was me and my wife and a few friends.
The ones that were snickering in the background during your Ditched in LA video?
Yes.
I could hear them laughing in the background. That was pretty funny.
We were on Sunset Strip.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So, during his podcast, he made it sound like he had made contact with you and given you directions to the Hollywood sign, and that you were probably within a couple blocks, that you were in traffic, and then that's kind of when he kind of let it all out that it was a gag, that it was a hoax, whatever he wanted to call it. I can't remember what he thought it was. You've been what did he call it? You've been tracked. Yeah, that's the term he used.
Whatever the hell that means. I thought that he zeroed in on my GPS or something. I didn't know what the hell was going on when he said that.
Yeah, when he said it, I was watching too, and when he said it, I didn't quite get what he meant by that. You know, it took me a while to mean, oh, okay, all right, this is all a big gag. So, were you on your way to the Hollywood sign?
Actually, I was not, because at that point, like, basically, the way we had made the plans was that he was supposed to pick me up at my where I was staying at my hotel, and but we had figured out before that, you know, that what was going to happen, we knew, and then he sends me a text saying, you got to meet me at the Hollywood sign because I've gotten death threats, and which we thought was hilarious, especially since he misspelled every other word in that text. And so then he called, and I kind of started messing with him a little bit, and popping off, being a smartass, and he actually got angry.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And so then at that point we were like, okay, you know, we know that this guy's just messing with us, you know. And so we were like, well, you know, we're in LA, let's was just humor him and keep texting back and calling and things like this. But at that point, we knew it was over, and and we knew that there was really no point in actually going to the Hollywood Sign.
Yeah. So when you posted the Ditched in Los Angeles video, I mean, that was later on toward the end of the day. What did you do in between that time? What, you know, between the time that you knew it was over and the time that you posted that video, what were you doing then?
We were partying. We were enjoying ourselves.
Right. So
the people in LA are great. I didn't know what to expect, but man, it was pretty awesome.
Good. So this video then that you posted, Ditched in LA, I remember I saw it posted and my wife was sitting next to me and I said, "Oh, you know what, JR just posted a video." We opened it up, started looking at it, and I thought she was going to cry. She felt so bad for you. the first 15, 20 seconds of the video, she was like, "Oh man, you know, that was brilliant, man." I think that was what just kind of what everybody needed to see, you know, that you had a sense of humor about it. It was no big deal to you, you know, and that video kind of, you know, I saw a lot of people in the community rally around you over that.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's just. I mean, I planned on kind of doing that type of thing anyway, and yeah, I mean, I never expected, you know, anyone to really get into it like that and rally around it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely took a lot of wind out of Bigfoot tracker sales.
Well, I knew that would happen. That's one reason why I did, and you and I talked about this actually.
Yeah.
That you know, that going through with this and seeing it to the end like this, it was. I saw it as a lose-lose situation for him. And so that was another motivating factor for me to carry this through, was because I knew that it would kind of totally back him into a corner and kind of expose something about exactly what he's got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biting my tongue. I don't really want to go any of the negative aspects of a lot of what comes out of that camp. But I think definitely you showed class in the way that you responded to this thing. And that last video was just, the icing on the cake. It was just what everybody needed to see and hear. There's a lot of people, very angry at what happened and how the whole thing went off, especially when it concerned you, because you really weren't deemed or seen as a hater in the Bigfoot community. You know what I'm saying? That's where kind of a lot of the folks that subscribed to my show made comments and said, like, why did you get sucked up into this, or why did he want to see you get drawn into this, or why did he invite you to this thing? It's not like you've hated on him. You've made jokes, right? But I thought your videos and your investigations were they're what they are, Exactly,
they are. They're not. I'm not really like out to get them with this investigation, and that was the whole point of doing the investigation. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm not a hater. I mean, I haven't like a few lighthearted comments. It's all in good fun, is the way I see it. That's what the internet's all about. I mean, compared to what other people say in their comments, my stuff's pretty mild, pretty tame.
Yeah,
it wasn't malicious. It was lighthearted, I felt.
Yeah, I never got that impression that you were, you know, a quote hater or that your work was malicious. I mean, the investigation took its course and it ended up where it did, and that's pretty much it. I didn't feel like anything that you were doing within the investigation was contrived. You know, like
right.
you were bending evidence or you know, baiting the interviewers or the people you were interviewing, things like that. I never got the feeling that you were doing stuff like that. So anyway, well, good work, JR. We look forward to more from you. I know you haven't posted in a while. It's just been a couple weeks where you picked up that baby Bigfoot. Oh no, it was your.
Actually, I've posted last week. I posted 2 videos.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, I did see those 2. They were the Minnesota Iceman with Steve Bushty.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's there in Austin. Yeah, that was good work, man. That was an interesting interview. And it's unfortunate that he didn't let you get a shot of. I understand why, though. He didn't let you get a shot of the Iceman. But you said you looked at it and it was kind of unnerving to look at.
It was. It was a little bit. It was kind of creepy.
I bet it was. But you know, funny is the last interview I did with Mark Fata, who's with Colorado Sasquatch Research. He said that the Bigfoot that he's seeing out there in Colorado, where he's investigating, looked just like the Iceman. And his thought and feelings about the Iceman is that it's probably a Bigfoot.
Well, I mean, that's what I think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody really knows what's going on with these things, but I'm thinking it's some sort of like ancient, you know, Homo sapien or something like that.
Yeah.
That seems like, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but that seems like the most likely explanation to me.
Yeah, I would think so as well. So yeah, I saw both of those videos. They were both really well done. What's on the horizon for you, JR? What do you got cooking next, man?
Well, I have one expedition planned for the Sabine River coming up very soon. In fact, I'm gearing up for it right now. I'm going to be heading out in about a week to go travel up the Sabine River and camp out for a few days along the way. And I'm bringing cameras, and they're not gonna roll unless there's some activity happening. And I also have a couple of interviews that I'm trying to secure with witnesses. One person who works at a national park, and another one with a retired police officer in Texas who had a sighting. So both of those will be coming up soon, and that's just kind of the path I'm going to go on at this point. You know, all of my friends, my friends really aren't into the people I hang out with. They're not really interested in Bigfoot or anything like that. They think it's silly. So
yeah, same here.
So I'm determined to prove to them that, and to everyone, that they're out there by capturing some evidence of some sort.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing more from you, JR. And we're about at time. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about you?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you making the time to sit down and talk with me. It was definitely interesting, man. You've definitely had an interesting ride the last few months with your investigation and your trip out to L.A. And a damn nice recovery, too, from all of that, by the way. Thanks. So thanks again, JR. I appreciate the time you've made to sit and talk with me. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it was a pleasure to talk to you. It was an honor.
Likewise, JR, and we look forward to more from you.
All right.
All right, take care.
You too.
All right.